Cooking Doc here, back at the Anchorage in Greenville, South Carolina with Chef Greg McPhee. And we are going to be making a delicious vegetable dish here, teaching you how to make some vegetables. Taste fantastic, layering flavors. And let's get cooking. What are we making here today?
So today we're making a nice, I would almost call it a farrotto. So it's a take on a risotto, but made with farro. The only difference is we're really gonna let the vegetables and mushrooms be at the forefront of this dish. So this is a pearled farro. Okay. Typically we'll have three different sizes. We'll have the PICCOLO, the MEDIO, and the ANTICA, which would be the longer. Okay. This one has been cooked almost like a risotto. So we've taken a little bit of garlic and onion, and we sweat that down with a little bit of olive oil. Then we add our farro in and toast it in the olive oil until it starts getting aromatic. Okay. Then we are gonna deglaze or just pour into the pan just a little bit of white wine. Okay. And just gradually add vegetable stock until it's layered and it's basically completely cooked. So you don't want to see the grain blow out. If it's all puffed and blown out, it's overcooked. But when you taste it, you want to have a little bit of toothiness, but it'll be nice and tender and it won't necessarily agitate you or get stuck in between the teeth. So it takes about, for a smaller batch, it's going to take about 25-30 minutes. But the best thing about it is you can do it ahead of time, and then you can keep it in the fridge for up to 7 days. We're going to go ahead and just put a little bit of olive oil just into the pan, just about a tablespoon and a half. Don't really need a lot. And we're going to be able to
coat the bottom there?
Enough to coat the bottom. We can see that it's starting to smoke. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw our scallions, our shallots, and our ginger into the pan. You don't have to be really good at flipping. You just, agitating is doing a lot of different things. One, you're mixing your product so it's not going to caramelize in one specific spot. It's also letting more oxygen into the oil, so you're getting your heat back up. If you don't have the best stove at home, if you push it like that, make sure you're holding it on the flame, because then you're going to allow that oxygen. In the same way that you're stoking a fire, it's going to help you to get your heat back up. And we can go ahead and sort of pump the brakes a little bit by adding our shiitakes in.
So that's going to bring the heat down a little bit.
That's going to bring the heat down. It's also going to introduce some moisture into the dish. And then we're going to go ahead and add our eggplants. Again, we're relying on caramelization to accentuate our flavor. You can also smell that it's starting to kind of get that nice sort of rich flavor to it. And just as we're starting to see a little bit of caramelization on the shallots there, that's when we're going to go ahead and say, let's add our bok choy. Okay. This is completely unblanched. Just because we don't want to introduce any liquid yet, we're going to add just a tiny bit of sea salt. That's going to lock in your green color. It's also going to help with layering of your flavor. So as soon as the bok choy is broken down just a little bit, we're going to go ahead and add in some green onion tops. Then dry, we're going to add our cooked farro just on top. All right? Okay. And we're almost going to build up what the French would call a fondue, which is going to be all the caramelized sugar on the bottom of the pan.
So do you keep scraping that stuff off when you're going through?
You keep scraping, and then the best thing that we're going to do here is we're then going to take our lacto-fermented shiitake liquid.
There it is.
And this is what you would call deglazing. So by deglazing, we're taking that liquid, and then I can scrape all that good fond right off of the bottom. Or if you're on a low-sodium diet, you can just use vegetable stock, which is what we're also going to use here. So we're going to just add it in just a little bit. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow for all of those flavors to get all the way through the farro. And we're going to rehydrate the starch, which is going to give us sort of that more risotto-y type texture. A little bit of pepper. Again, thin herbs. And don't be shy with the herbs. You know, I think that's one of the most important things in the cookery. And you can see now that we've had that veg stock in there, all that fond is gone and it's worked into your dish. All right, that's your, we're talking again about caramelizing the sugars that are naturally existing in the grain and the vegetables, so we're not having to add anything into it. So we've pulled it off the heat, just to make sure that we're not going to overcook our vegetables, because again, we want as much nutritional value to them and we want as much texture to them as possible. A good way to stop the cooking is to add a little bit of room temperature citrus juice. Okay. So we've got our lime. What people don't think about citrus is it's sugar. So it's going to sweeten up our dish as well. So especially when you're transitioning from something that's got a lot of processed sugar to a more plant-based diet, the addition of citrus can be a great sort of segue, and it can be a great tool to really round out those flavors so that you're feeling a little bit more familiar with it. And then we'll just, we'll plate it pretty simply as if we're at home here.
Okay. So many colors and textures. Wow, that was fantastic.
Awesome.
A lot of my viewers kind of balked at my farro when I made a farro recipe. Well, what can you use instead?
You can use bulgur wheat, you can use quinoa, rice.
Okay.
You can say, I don't really want the grains, and substitute something like cabbage or carrots or root vegetables. Really, you know, the grains are going to be there. It's going to be a little bit more of a filling component to it. I would recommend using something that's a little bit more hearty or old world. You don't want to use white rice clearly or anything along those lines, but you can substitute anything. You could put roasted pumpkin into this in the fall, winter squash. You could make zoodles and just sort of have it all set. So there's a million different directions. You'll always sort of have a good result if you just keep throwing beautiful vegetables into the dish.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Greg. I mean, thank you for letting me into your kitchen.
My pleasure.
And showing us how to make these fresh vegetables taste so good. I've hoped you learned something. I've learned about 1,000 things here. Make sure you visit the Anchorage Restaurant in Greenville, South Carolina. There is no better place to eat dinner or a Sunday brunch. We'll see you next time. Make sure you check out the website. We've got lots of videos, thecooking.co, lots of great recipes, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching The Cooking Dot. Healthy cooking made simple and delicious.